YouTube. I'm going to try my best to look you guys in the eye instead of myself in the viewfinder, but I can't guarantee how successful I'll be. So you've been warned. So today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about a medical condition that I recently found out that I have. And the condition is not a recent development. Like, I didn't just get the condition. I've had it my whole life, but I didn't realize that I had it until recently. So if you're not a usual subscriber or viewer of mine and you see me messing with dolls, then like, I'm warning you ahead of time. If you don't like dolls or they creep you out or something, then be prepared to be creeped out, because I'm gonna be playing with mine. But anyway, so the condition that I found out that I have is called Asperger's Syndrome, and some people pronounce it Asperger's and some people say Asperger's, and it is a form of autism, which is a condition that a lot of people have, but not that many people in the public really have a lot of knowledge on. I think there's like a misconception that everyone who has autism is not able to function in society with other people because they are too awkward, or because they don't want to be around other people, or they can't be touched or something like that. So there's like a blanket idea of what autism means, but actually people who have autism are considered a part of a spectrum on this disorder. So it's not any one particular way that the people who have autism behave or act or think. It's a spectrum, so that means you could be on the low end, you could be on the high end, it's anywhere in the middle, and there is really no way to pinpoint exactly, where somebody is on that spectrum just from looking at them. So you watching this right now might actually be somebody who has autism but never knew it, or you might be the acquaintance of someone who has autism and maybe you don't realize that about them. So I just thought I would share my story because I'm an adult, and being diagnosed as an adult is very, very, very difficult, especially if you have Asperger's, which is considered one of the, it's considered on the higher end of the spectrum. So it's almost like a criteria that you have to be extremely intelligent in order to be considered someone with Asperger's, and your high IQ might actually help you to learn coping mechanisms that will deceive other into believing that you're normal or you're just like them. So this is one of the reasons why it's very hard to get diagnosed as an adult, because people don't always recognize your symptoms because you get really good at hiding them. I'm gonna try to give you guys as much detail as I can with the limited knowledge that I have right now in my diagnosis process. But basically, for a little while now, I had been suspecting that I might have Asperger's, and the reason why I thought that I had Asperger's was because I have had a lot of mental issues since I was a kid, and I never had an explanation for it. And I know I'm not crazy, that's not what it is, but sometimes I'll have these moments where I feel like I don't really fit in with other people, and I don't think like other people, and when other people try to explain to me what they're thinking or why they think the way they do, it makes no sense to me. I don't understand why people do things the way that they do, because to me there's no logic behind it. But I don't know, that's just what everybody does, I guess, and that's what's considered normal. So my brain just doesn't work that way. And basically, if you have autism, what it means is, I guess it's kind of crazy because it's considered a disability, but it is and it isn't. It depends on how you look at it. So for some people, it's very debilitating and it really stops them from doing things in their life that they really want to do. But then for other people, it actually helps them to accomplish things that they want to do in life that maybe someone who doesn't have autism might have a hard time doing. And basically, somebody who has autism, their brain is just wired in a way that they don't think like how everybody else thinks. And they process information, they process their world, they process emotions much differently than other people do. But that process is the norm to that person. So depending on what part of the spectrum you're on, you might actually have a lot in common with somebody else who has autism, or you might not have anything in common with somebody who has autism, but still have it at the same time. It's very tricky, and I guess people could say, well, how do you know everybody doesn't have autism then? Because everybody thinks differently or something like that. And actually, in a way, everybody is a little bit autistic. It's just there's like a level of autism that's considered functional for society. So it doesn't really affect you negatively, but then if you deviate from that level, then it could really affect you. So for me, my issue was that my brain is like nonstop. I can't think, but I can't stop thinking, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me. I'm constantly like juggling 5, 6, 7 different thoughts at the same time. And I don't mean I'm thinking like, oh, I'm hungry. What should I eat? Hamburgers, pizza, hot dogs? Not like that, although I do have a hard time making up my mind about menus. But I'm constantly thinking about something, and it's not always necessarily anything relevant, but at the same time, it's like overthinking. Like, it's like I don't need to think to this level of depth and detail about what I'm thinking about, but I do. For an example, if I know that I have a doctor's appointment coming up, and my appointment is for me to like follow up on, say, like a diabetes appointment, I won't just tell myself, okay, I have a doctor's appointment on Thursday, and then just keep like reminding myself, oh, Thursday's coming up, 2 o'clock. Make sure I get everything done before then so I can go to my doctor's appointment. That's what regular people seem to do. I'm not like that at all. I will actually sit there and brood and play scenarios in my mind for like all day about all of the possible questions that the doctor could ask me about my diabetes and my condition, and whether I'm taking my medicine on time, and whether I'm taking them properly, any symptoms, any side effects I might be having from them. And then I will play like a movie, like scenes in my head of all of the possible responses I could give to that question, just the one question. And then based on each response that I've given to my doctor hypothetically, I'll think of every possible response to each of those responses that the doctor could give me back. So it's like infinite conversations going on inside of my brain of potential conversations that I could be having with this person during this one encounter. And it's so detailed that by the time I actually have to go on the appointment, like if I don't have 4 or 5 different alarms and a person that can remind me, hey, you have an appointment coming up today at 2, I will literally forget that I have that appointment at 2 o'clock because I'm so busy thinking about it that by the time the day comes that I'm supposed to go on the appointment, I will just lose track of time. Like, I don't even know that 2 o'clock has come and gone. And then before I know it, I'm like, oh my God, I missed my appointment. Or I'll get to the appointment on time because someone reminded me, all my alarms went off and I was able to get there. And then while I'm at the appointment, I'll just be anticipating all of these questions that I played in my mind of how I was going to answer. And the doctor will ask me stuff according to what I imagined they would. And then all of my answers have been pre-calculated. Like, I figured out what I was going to say before I say it, and I figure how they're going to react before they react. So there's no surprises. And if for some reason there is something the doctor says that I didn't anticipate, then it will freak me out in my mind. Like, I'll just freak out inside of my brain, but I just won't necessarily show that I'm freaked out in person because I've gotten really good at hiding my freakouts. So, but I'll be so uncomfortable, and I'll just want to get out of there, and I'll lie. I'll say to the doctor, oh, everything's fine, because I need to like regroup. I need to think about this question she asked me, or this response that she gave me that I didn't anticipate. So it makes me really uncomfortable, and then I have to like start all over again. So that's like something that I personally have been dealing with since as far back as I can remember. And I thought everybody did this. I thought it was normal for people to think like that, but apparently it's not. And sometimes it's good that I do this, because when people see me in certain situations, they think, oh man, you think quick. You think on your feet so quick. Like, all your plans are well executed. Always know what you're gonna do before you do it. And they think I'm really smart, but I'm like, no, I'm not smart. I'm just really good at convincing people I'm not dumb. Like, that's how I look at it. But according to my therapist and the results of my IQ test, I am smart. I'm like really intelligent, but it just, to me, doesn't feel that way. To me, I feel like intelligent people don't think the way I do. So I must not be a smart person. I just somehow figured out a way to convince people that I'm not an idiot, you know? So that's been my experience. And this doll is massive. She's huge. Like, compared to our Barbie doll, let me show you their height difference, okay? This doll has on heels right now. And look. That's them at the same level where their feet are, right? This other foot right here is bent. Look at their height difference. Whoa, she's like 13 inches tall or something. Maybe she's 12 and a half. I don't know. Dang, she's huge. But that's pretty cool. It's cool to have dolls that are different heights. I love it. Thank you to Cutie Erica for sending me this doll for my birthday. I love her. She's so pretty and a lot of fun to look at. I love it. Okay, so another thing about the whole Asperger's thing for me is that I have really intense fixations on certain interests of mine, and I'll like kind of obsess over it, and I can't really concentrate on other things until I've gotten it out of my system, so to speak. Whatever it is that I happen to be like obsessing over. That noise is very distracting. What the hell? Anyway, so yeah, if you're somebody watching this right now and you have autism, like whatever that noise is in the background that I'm being distracted by, if you guys can hear this noise on camera, I know it's super distracting to you. So yeah, so it's like just a lot of different things like that. It's hard for me to get into in one video. I feel like the video would be like 40 minutes long if I was to summarize like all of the issues that I have with my autism, so I might have to make a different video about that altogether. Okay, so I had just suspected that I had all this stuff going on, and I was like, this is not normal. Other people don't have to deal with this. I do have a younger sister, and me and her are only like a year and a half apart, so our development should have been like neck and neck, but it really wasn't. And especially with me being the older sister, you would think I'm the one that's setting the trend for the younger sister to follow behind and copy. But I felt like it was not like that. It was the other way around. My language skills were always more developed and still are. So that was one way I feel like I fooled a lot of people. But with Asperger's, autism does affect your language skills a lot, actually. But Asperger's specifically, and I don't know if this has something to do with people having Asperger's also being highly intelligent, but for some reason communication, like articulating yourself, that's actually something we tend to be very good at doing. So we're really good at expressing ourselves verbally, and people just, it totally slips under the radar. And for me, I learned how to talk before I did anything else. Before I could walk, before I could crawl, before I could do anything, I was already talking and singing songs and like memorizing lyrics at a very, very young age. So everybody in my family thought I was like a genius when I was a baby, and I was able to like excel in like French class, Spanish class. I just pick up languages really easily when I'm exposed to them. So I've never taken Italian, but for some reason, like Italian and Portuguese, when I hear it, being spoken, like I can kind of understand it a little bit, and it's because I can make all the connections between the French and the Spanish that I've learned. Even though things are spelled differently, pronounced differently, I can hear the patterns in the words that seem familiar, so that's why I can kind of get the gist of what people are saying when they speak these languages I've never even learned. So for me, that has been something that I actually just have like a knack for. But when it comes to social things, I have a really huge problem with those things. And I know it seems ironic because I'm on YouTube and you guys are all my friends, and I seem to be able to connect with you guys for the most part, but our connections are very like one-dimensional because you guys are not around me in person, and because our main interest is dolls, which happens to be one of my special interests. So I can go on and on for days when we're talking about dolls. You know what I'm saying? But if it was just day-to-day activities, it's a different story for me. Like, I'm really awkward, and I always felt like an outcast when I was in school. Like, I never had a clique. Like, I was the person that was like the floater that would jump from one lunch table to the other table, and people thought it was because I was like a chameleon and I could just blend in with everybody, and oh, she's a social butterfly. No, it was because I didn't really belong to anybody. So I would go from group to group to group to try to like study them to see, why are you guys the way that you are, and why do you guys click with each other? What is it about you that you guys can just click with each other so easily and be comfortable in this little box that you guys are all in? Like, why do the cheerleaders or the jocks or the nerds or the, you know, the black kids or the white kids or the Asian kids, like, what do they have in common that they're just gravitating towards each other so easily? I couldn't figure that out because I didn't have a group that I felt like I belonged to effortlessly. I felt like I had to put a lot of effort into feeling like I belonged to groups, and I never actually did find a group that I felt like I belonged to. So to this day I'm like that, and because I'm a 30-year-old and I have kids and I'm married, it's easier for people to just accept that I'm normal and I just blend in with everyone. But in my head, that's not what's happening. I'm very uncomfortable dealing with people and like having relationships with people that are, to me, what seems very superficial. Like, all I have in common with you is that we like dolls, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is very pointless. So I don't take those kinds of relationships very seriously, and I am the kind of person that if I was able to have the chance to connect with somebody on more than just that level, I would. And I would take them very seriously, and I would cultivate the relationships with those people. Even if they weren't necessarily face to face around me all the time, I would still treat them like they were. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but that's just how I am. And so those are the social aspects of my Asperger's. And then the other thing that I was really struggling with were my sensory problems that I have, that other people don't understand what the problem is, but like, it's real. Like, when I say sensory problems, I mean certain types of lighting, like hurts my eyes, hurts my head, certain smells that like they only seem to be bothering me, or they're so faint other people can't really smell it, but I can smell it as if it's really strong. Or vocal tones, like I cannot watch certain YouTube channels because the people who run the channel, their voices irk me. Like what you're saying, the content of the video is not what's bothering me. It's just your voice. Like the tone of the person's voice hurts my ears, you know what I'm saying? And it's not that it's annoying even, it's just, it's like inside my skin and it's like tingling me. I don't know, it's just very, very disturbing to me, and I can't take it. So I can't really listen to them talking on those videos and I have to change the video. I have to watch something else because I just can't take it. It's a sensory thing. So it's not a personal thing. Like, and I do this when I run into people in person. If they have like voices that just get inside my eardrums and like tickle my ears, like I don't know how to explain it, but I have to get away from those people. I can't listen to them, or I have to like do something else to like take my mind off of that, because it's so distracting and so aggravating. And so I'll like sing a song, like I'll hum to myself, or I'll have like something in my hand that I can listen to that like crackles and makes different kinds of noises that soothe me. Or I'll be like, I'll walk around at work with like a little vial of grapefruit oil, and I'll like sniff it. I'll just be sniffing it at work while people are talking to me, and they have no idea why, but it's like, yo, if you knew all the things that I'm going through right now listening to you talk, like, I need it, you know? So I just have been coming to terms with the fact that I have all of these like strange issues all in combination with each other, that like individually a doctor might look at it and say, well, you've got OCD, you've got ADHD, you've got depression, you've got all these mental disorders. And like individually they'd have to tell me I've got every single one, but then somehow try to explain why I also have sensory problems. Ain't nobody got all them problems all at one time since their birth. Like, nothing caused it, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't traumatized and then all of a sudden I got all these other problems. I did have some traumas growing up. I did, of course. All of us do a little some. But I had these problems since before all of that. So there wasn't a way for them to explain away all of those problems that I have with just a blanket statement of, oh, you just happen to have this one disorder. And that's what led me to realizing that I do have something that's like making me feel all these different things that I feel, unable to concentrate, distracted so easily, and have such a horrible sense of like time and prioritizing and time management and things like that. So I spoke to my doctor and I basically told her I need to be referred to a mental health specialist who knows something about autism or ADD, like something, because something don't feel right. And anytime I've mentioned this to people growing up, authority figures like church leaders, school teachers, guidance counselors, every last one of them tells me, nothing's wrong with you. You're too smart. You're smart. You're in the National Honor Society. You could get a scholarship. You're on track to go to college. And in fact, I am in college right now. And no one would take me seriously. They just kept brushing it off and telling me that I was just being eccentric, or I'm an artist, so I don't think like everyone else. And yeah, that's true. People who are artistic don't think like everyone else, but that doesn't exempt you from being autistic. You feel me? So I had to deal with a lot of that. And being a female, I think it's also very hard for females to be taken seriously as possibly autistic, because a lot of our symptoms are just rolled under the rug of being some sort of other mental disorder. So people are very easily misdiagnosed as a female. So I'm not surprised that growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, that especially not that much being known about autism, that my symptoms just went under the radar. But in recent years, you know, there was this mystery of my nephew. I was about to say my son, because I think of him as my son. But my sister's son was diagnosed as autistic at about 4. And it was like a big mystery to us, because we were like, who's autistic in our family? Why would this have happened to him? Where did this come from? And since when? Like, he seems normal to us. What do you mean? How is he autistic? we didn't understand it because we didn't know that much about autism, and we also were thinking of those stereotypical images of autism that most people have. So, and those images didn't apply to my nephew. So we were like, no, he doesn't have autism. What are these people talking about? But then as the years went on and the kids have been growing, and I'm like thinking back to when he was first diagnosed, and I'm like, oh man, that's crazy that a lot of the things that he was doing that were so obvious to these professionals and to teachers as abnormal, to us didn't seem that abnormal. And I think that's because when I was a baby, I was probably doing some of those things myself, but so we were like used to that. We were used to thinking it was normal for us to do certain things as kids. And if my sister was doing them too, it was probably because she was copying me because she was the younger sister. But like social issues, my sister doesn't have the social issues that I have, and doesn't really have the sensory problems that I have. And her son having these issues, I think, made me start to really like see the similarities between him and me, and the difference is just that I'm a little bit more verbal than he is. So I had to kind of come to terms with that reality and accept the possibility that maybe my problems are related to autism in some way. Either I'm autistic, or or I have Asperger's, or something along those lines. I didn't know that much about this, condition at the time when I was first starting to look into it. And then over the past few months, when I was actively seeking help from professionals, I eventually started to see a therapist. In one of the cities near my town, there are specialists that actually diagnose people that have autism, and of course they're mostly dealing with children. This is one of those, I don't want to say it's a disease, because I'm not sure if it's even considered a disease. I think it's more like a disorder, or even, I don't know, some people say it's a disability, but I say it's a condition. So this is one of those conditions that's most easily recognizable in children, and therefore it's mostly diagnosed in children. But there are people like me who slipped under the radar as children, and nobody suspected anything, or maybe their parents were just in denial and never brought it to anyone's attention that could diagnose them. So now, as a 30-something-year-old, like, this thing has been affecting my life since I was in the height of my social interactions with people, starting from like middle school up. And being on my own as an adult, I can't run to my mommy and be like, oh, protect me from people, because I don't know how to deal with them. I can't do that anymore. I have to actually deal with real life and people. I went and I had 3 appointments with the diagnosing doctors, and they gave me some tests. They gave me like an IQ test, they gave me a personality test, and they gave me some other kind of test. They ask you a bunch of questions and you just answer them truthfully. And then, because I'm not a kid, they questioned my husband about my habits and things like that he noticed about me. And based on all of those things scored and analyzed, they determine whether or not you seem to be on the spectrum. So at the time of making this video, I don't have the official diagnosis in writing yet, but the doctor did tell me that she was very likely going to diagnose me with Asperger's by the next time that we see each other, because she's pretty sure that I have it. And the other 2 therapists that I had spoken to prior to talking to her also were like, just immediately, like as soon as they talked to me, they were like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you have it, because they treat people that have Asperger's and kids that have Asperger's, and they kind of could see all the symptoms and all the they recognized everything that I was going through that very much looked like Asperger's and autism to them. But I guess I just wasn't talking to enough professional people in the past that knew about this stuff. So that's why it went under the radar for so long. So that's my story of how I was diagnosed, and it's of course not directly related to doll stuff. So some of you guys who are strictly into our doll videos, I'm just warning you now, I'll probably end up doing a few more videos like this explaining this condition and my experiences with it, for those of you who might be in the same boat I was, trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with me and need some answers or some possible things that they can explore and rule out even, or just people who are curious and they just want to know, or those of you who want to get to know Gypsy better. This is a part of me that has always been there even before I officially knew about it. So now y'all know I have Asperger Syndrome and I am autistic, and I don't feel bad or upset about it. I'm happy that there's an explanation for why I feel the way that I feel and think how I think, because it helps me to put a lot of things into perspective and really like help myself learn how to cope with certain things that I'm not built to deal with naturally. So in that sense, I'm very happy about that. But I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble about myself, and maybe even learn something from this video. And I will see you guys in another video hopefully soon. So I'll talk to y'all later. Have a dolly day. You're on your what do they call it? You're on. I spoke to my what the hell? But what the hell was I talking about? My diagnosis process. That's right. What the hell? Okay.